The first light of dawn stretched its golden fingers across the rolling hills, brushing the tops of mud-brick homes and the neat thatched roofs of the village. The morning air carried the scent of damp earth and the sweet aroma of ripe fruits from the nearby groves. Birds called to one another in the trees, their songs weaving with the low murmur of the village waking. Children scampered along dusty paths, laughter spilling like water over stones, as merchants arranged their vibrant wares, the colors of woven baskets, dyed cloths, and fragrant spices creating a tapestry of life. Near the central baobab tree, elders chanted blessings, their voices blending with the rustling of leaves, calling upon ancestors to watch over the people, their wisdom flowing through the very air. Even in these moments of tradition, distant echoes from the town, a bell, the hum of a cart wheel, the distant murmur of unfamiliar voices, hinted at a world beyond the village, one both alluring and unknown. Amina stood at the edge of the small wooden bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the horizon where the distant town rose like a promise in the early morning haze. Her long hair was tied back, a few loose strands dancing in the wind as she clutched a worn satchel close to her chest. Her heart pounded with longing. The village was familiar, safe, but her spirit yearned for more. Schools that promised knowledge beyond the village elders' stories, streets lined with possibilities, and a life where her voice mattered beyond whispered judgments and expectations. She imagined herself walking those city streets with confidence, learning, growing, achieving. Yet even as she dreamed, a pang of guilt gripped her. The sun warmed the village paths, but Amina's mind was elsewhere, caught between the pull of ambition and the tether of duty to the mother who had raised her, taught her the language of the land, and rooted her soul in tradition. Under the great baobab tree, Mama Zuri stirred from her quiet morning meditation. She looked upon the children gathered at her feet, carefully crushing herbs and whispering tales of ancestors who had walked the land long before any modern town existed. The children leaned close, eyes wide, absorbing every word, every gesture, every lesson wrapped in lore and love. Mama Zuri's gaze softened as it fell upon Amina, standing apart yet yearning for the world beyond. She called gently, her voice carrying the weight of generations. "Amina, my child," Mama Zuri said, motioning for her to come closer. "The wind speaks to those who listen. It tells of paths paved with honor, but also of choices that bring sorrow." Amina hesitated, tugging at the strap of her satchel. "Mother, I hear you, but I cannot stay. I must go. There is more for me beyond these hills, beyond these paths." Mama Zuri's eyes, deep pools of wisdom and worry, searched her daughter's face. "The world outside is not as it appears. There are those who smile with empty hearts, and others who envy what they do not understand. Remember, abandoning your roots may bring pain, not just to you, but to those who bore you." Amina shifted her gaze, torn between the bright horizon and the shaded space beneath the baobab. I must try, Mama. I cannot let fear keep me here." A sigh escaped Mama Zuri's lips, carried away by the morning breeze. She reached out, laying a gentle hand upon her daughter's shoulder. "Try, yes. But never forget the lessons of those who walked before you. Honor, patience, humility, they are stronger than ambition alone." The village market began to stir with voices, whispers threading through the stalls like smoke from a distant fire. "She will leave us soon," one elder woman murmured, eyeing Amina with a mixture of admiration and concern. "Her spirit is restless, but restlessness can bring ruin." A merchant nodded, arranging bright fabrics. "Yes, she is clever, but ambition without caution is dangerous. One day she may learn what the elders warn in silence." Even as these murmurs wove through the morning, a black crow circled high above, its shadow passing over the paths like a fleeting omen. A traveler moved along the outer edge of the village, his cloak dark against the light, a small bundle tied to his back. He glanced toward Amina, eyes sharp, as if carrying knowledge of what the future might hold, before vanishing down the winding dirt road that led beyond the hills. Amina's heart fluttered at the sight, a shiver running down her spine, but she told herself it was only the wind, only the thrill of the unknown calling her forward. Yet deep in her chest, a tiny voice whispered that every choice carried a weight, and that her dreams, bright as the rising sun, would not come without cost. The elders resumed their chants under the baobab, calling blessings on the village, on the children, on the balance of tradition and change. Mama Zuri closed her eyes for a moment, inhaling the scents of herbs, dust, and the early sun, and whispered a prayer to the ancestors. "Guide her steps. Let her not forget who she is, even as she reaches for what she seeks. Amina turned her gaze once more to the distant town, sunlight spilling over her face like liquid gold. She inhaled the air thick with earth, sweat, and promise, feeling the weight of both her roots and her ambitions. The path ahead was uncertain, lined with challenges she could not yet imagine. But in her heart, a quiet fire burned, fed by dreams and tempered by love, a fire that would guide her through the trials to come, under the watchful eyes of ancestors, the whispers of the wind, and the enduring rhythm of the village she called home. The morning hummed with life. Children's laughter rang through the dusty paths, merchants shouted prices over colorful stalls, and the elders' blessings drifted through the trees. Somewhere above, the black crow lingered a moment longer, wings spread wide against the sky, before disappearing beyond the hills, a final reminder that every journey is watched, and every choice carries the weight of consequences yet to unfold. And so, with the golden sun rising, Amina took her first steps toward the unknown, her spirit alight with hope, curiosity, and the subtle guiding pull of ancestral wisdom, leaving the village paths behind but carrying them forever in her heart. The sun climbed higher, spilling warmth over the village, yet a tension lingered in the air, heavier than the dust that rose from the winding paths. Amina's feet dragged as she walked toward the central hut, her eyes narrowing with frustration. "Mother," she said sharply, "why must we follow these rules without question? Why must every choice be bound by what the elders dictate?" Mama Zuri, kneeling over a basket of herbs, looked up with calm patience. "My child," she replied softly, "these rules are not chains, they are the threads that bind us to our ancestors and keep our village whole. There is wisdom in ritual, even if it is invisible to the hurried eye." Amina's hands clenched into fists. "Invisible to the eye," she repeated, her voice trembling. "I see neighbors and children limited by these traditions. I see doors closed because of fear of gossip or disapproval. I want to learn, to grow, to see the world beyond these hills." Mama Zuri's eyes reflected both sorrow and understanding. "Ambition is a fire, Amina, but without guidance, it can burn what is most precious. Our ancestors speak through caution, through rituals. Their voices are not chains, they are shields." Amina turned away, pacing under the shade of the baobab. "Shields? Or walls?" Her voice carried over the courtyard, stirring the chickens and causing a young boy to stumble in fright. "I feel trapped, Mama. The village feels small, suffocating. I cannot breathe here." From the marketplace, the low hum of daily life continued undisturbed. Women carried baskets of cassava and millet, singing softly as they prepared morning meals. Children gathered beneath the shade of trees, repeating the tales and proverbs Mama Zuri had taught them. Elders sat in circles, leaning on carved staffs, their voices weaving stories of ancestors, of victories and losses, teaching patience and courage through oral tradition. Amina watched them all, her heart divided. She loved this place, loved its rhythms and rituals, but the fire of her ambition could not be contained. Her eyes fell upon the edge of her mother's table, where a folded parchment peeked out from under a clay pot. She hesitated, then reached for it. The paper crackled softly in her hands. A letter, yellowed with age, spoke of past misfortunes, whispered betrayals, and secrets kept from prying eyes. She glimpsed hints of debts owed, promises broken, and a story of family struggle that had remained hidden until now. Her stomach tightened as the weight of history pressed against her youthful resolve. A gentle voice called from behind. "Do not mistake curiosity for understanding, child. The truths of our family are like seeds. Some must rest beneath the earth before they bloom." Mama Zuri's words were a balm and a warning, reminding Amina that knowledge without wisdom could be dangerous. Even as her mother spoke, the fire of desire flared stronger. Amina's mind raced with possibilities. The city with its towering buildings, its streets lined with light, schools filled with books, people who spoke of ideas and opportunities she had never imagined. She imagined herself walking among them, confident, free, unbound by village whispers. The thought filled her chest with both excitement and fear. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, painting the sky in streaks of orange and purple, Amina lingered at the village edge. She glanced back at Mama Zuri, who sat quietly beneath the baobab, weaving a mat with deliberate, patient hands. A tear slid down Amina's cheek. She wanted to stay, to honor the wisdom of her mother and the embrace of the village, yet the pull of the city was undeniable. Her heart ached. The wind carried voices of ancestors, or perhaps only the rustling leaves of the baobab, but their message was clear. Choices have weight, and every step taken carries consequences. She inhaled the cool evening air, tasting both longing and sorrow. When she finally left, her feet carried her along the familiar paths that led to the distant town. The village faded behind her, the sounds of children's laughter and market chatter growing faint. Her eyes widened at the first glimpse of the city, buildings that scraped the sky, lights that burned like captured stars, and streets that hummed with ceaseless motion. She felt a rush of exhilaration, a tremor of fear, and a strange sense of disorientation. "Welcome, Amina," a young woman said, stepping beside her on the bustling pavement. "You are far from home now. Everything is new, everything is yours to take." Amina smiled, though a part of her heart remained tethered to the hills and dusty paths she had left behind. She felt the city's pulse, intoxicating and relentless. Yet beneath her excitement, a shadow lingered, the weight of her mother's words, the village's eyes, and the secret truths she had glimpsed in the letter. As night fell, neon lights painting the streets in colors she had never seen, Amina wandered through the city, sensing the beginnings of challenges she could not yet name. Friends offered smiles that hid intentions, streets promised opportunity and danger alike, and the wind whispered, almost familiarly, that ambition without care could carry a heavy price. Still, she walked forward, her steps both hesitant and determined, the fire of ambition flickering brightly, yet tempered by the faint, enduring echo of ancestral guidance. Somewhere above, a lone crow perched on a lamppost, watching, waiting, as if reminding her that every journey is observed, every choice carries weight, and every dream has a cost. Amina's heart beat with excitement and apprehension. She was no longer the girl on the village path. She was a young woman stepping into a world of endless possibilities, where every lesson from home would either guide her or be forgotten at peril. The city stretched before her, a vast canvas painted with promise and peril, and she was ready, or so she hoped, to write her story upon it. The city loomed before Amina, towering and restless, a place where lights flickered like captured stars and voices moved in a ceaseless tide. At first, she felt the thrill of possibility. Streets pulsed with life, unfamiliar faces, and promises of opportunity. She walked with her head held high, eager to embrace her new world. Yet, even in the glow of excitement, shadows whispered around her. Amina's first companion in the city, a bright-eyed young man named Kofi, welcomed her warmly. "Come, Amina," he said with a grin. "You will see. The city rewards those who take without hesitation." His laughter was light, but beneath it, a subtle unease gnawed at her. Soon, small slights revealed themselves, people ignoring her advice, subtle exclusion from gatherings, whispered remarks she could not fully understand. Doors closed politely, but firmly, in her path. The warmth she had imagined was laced with cunning and opportunism. That evening, a sudden storm broke across the city, lightning slicing the sky and wind rattling the shutters of her small apartment. A black crow perched silently on the rooftop, its gaze sharp and unyielding. Amina shivered as the wind carried a faint whisper, almost like her mother's voice. "Beware the ways of strangers. The world tests what the heart holds true." Her excitement wavered, replaced by a quiet, sinking apprehension. Far away, beneath the baobab tree, Mama Zuri moved slowly, the weight of absence pressing upon her. Villagers gathered in small clusters, whispering among themselves. "She left too soon," one woman murmured, eyes wary. "Does she even know the cost of her ambition?" Another elder shook his head knowingly. "Amina's path may bring success, but also sorrow. The child does not yet understand our ways, nor the debts owed to those who nurtured her." Mama Zuri listened, her hands trembling slightly as she stirred a pot of herbs. Loneliness pressed in from every side, yet she carried on, weaving wisdom into the fabric of her days, even as worry etched lines deeper into her face. The villagers offered assistance, some gentle, others begrudging, highlighting the heavy moral gaze that watched every action in their tight-knit community. Her heart ached not for herself, but for the daughter who had left, unaware of the burdens she carried in her absence. In the city, Amina faced her first true betrayal. Kofi, the friend she had trusted, revealed his true nature. He had borrowed money in her name, misused her connections, and smiled as opportunities slipped through her fingers. Her cheeks burned with shame as the truth settled in. "How could I have been so blind?" she whispered, clutching the small satchel she had brought from home. The moral weight of her actions pressed heavily upon her, echoing the lessons Mama Zuri had tried to impart. Ambition, untempered by wisdom, could lead not to triumph but to humiliation. Amina found herself walking the city streets in quiet contemplation, her dreams dulled by the sting of deceit. She questioned her own decisions, the moment she had chosen freedom over filial respect. Was the city worth the pain she now felt? Each glimmering light seemed to mock her, reflecting both possibility and peril, as if the city itself were a teacher, testing her resolve and morality. Meanwhile, Mama Zuri's health declined steadily. She coughed deeply, her strength waning, and the village elders gathered at her door with whispered prayers. Some offered food and remedies with soft smiles, others observed critically, weighing the cost of absence, ambition, and filial neglect. The mother's struggle became a mirror of Amina's trials in the city. Each reflected the consequences of choices, the moral weight of duty, and the inevitability of reckoning when one strays too far from roots. The villagers watched as Mama Zuri tended to her duties despite her weakening body. Her hands, worn and skilled in healing, now shook with exhaustion, yet she persisted, weaving stories, blessing children, and guiding the women in the preparation of evening meals. "The child must learn, even if through hardship," she murmured softly, her voice carrying over the evening air, "for life is a teacher, and the heart that strays must pay attention to its lessons." In the city, Amina sat alone in her small room, the rain dripping from the roof and the sound of distant thunder filling the silence. She held the letter she had glimpsed in the village, the parchment curling at the edges, whispering secrets of past betrayals and sacrifices. Her thoughts drifted home, to Mama Zuri, to the elders' warnings, and to the gentle rhythm of the village that she had once dismissed. Tears fell quietly, mingling with the storm outside, as she recognized that ambition, when untethered from wisdom and love, could bring suffering not only to oneself but to those left behind. The black crow returned, perched on the fire escape outside her window, its sharp gaze fixed upon her. It tilted its head, a silent messenger of caution. The wind carried a faint whisper, the echo of ancestral voices. "Remember who you are. Remember where you come from." Amina shivered, realizing that the city's glitter could not erase the moral bonds she had left behind, nor the responsibilities she had chosen to abandon. The storm passed, leaving the streets wet and reflective, the neon lights shimmering in puddles like scattered stars. Amina rose, a mixture of resolve and humility settling in her chest. She understood, for the first time fully, that her journey was not merely about escape or ambition, but about balance. The fire of her dreams must honor the roots that nurtured them. Somewhere far away, Mama Zuri lay in the fading light, unaware of her daughter's immediate struggles yet connected through blood, love, and the invisible threads of ancestral guidance. And so, the city held Amina in its restless embrace, offering both opportunity and challenge, while the village bore Mama Zuri's quiet strength, the murmurs of gossip, and the weight of moral expectation. Both worlds spoke lessons to the heart that listened. Ambition must be tempered with integrity, betrayal brings sorrow, and the bonds of family, though strained by distance, remain unbroken beneath the watchful eyes of ancestors and the ever-turning rhythm of life. Amina woke with a start, her body slick with sweat, the echoes of her dreams still trembling in her mind. In the darkness of her small city apartment, she could see shadows dancing on the walls, twisted by the flicker of a lone candle. In her vision, she had wandered through the village paths she had left behind, but the familiar mud-brick homes seemed cracked and hollow. A black crow perched upon the edge of the baobab tree, its eyes glinting like dark lanterns, watching her with unblinking scrutiny. Whispers of voices, ancient and familiar, carried through the air. "Remember, child, every step has consequence. Every ambition must honor the roots that bore you." Shaking off the chill, Amina tried to convince herself it was only a dream, only her mind replaying the village she had left. Yet as she walked to the market the next morning, she noticed subtle signs mirrored in her vision. Broken pottery scattered in an alleyway, a black crow perched atop a neon sign, its wings rustling in the wind. Even a passerby muttered a cryptic warning that seemed oddly familiar, though she did not understand it fully. Each sight struck her with a sense of foreboding, the city suddenly feeling less like opportunity and more like a labyrinth of unseen dangers. Back in the village, a mysterious figure appeared beneath the baobab tree, a traveler with hair streaked with gray and eyes sharp as flint. He approached Mama Zuri as she tended to her herbs, his steps deliberate, almost ceremonial. "I have walked many paths," he said quietly, voice carrying the weight of unseen knowledge, "and I have come to warn the one who strays from her mother's care. The child who seeks freedom without understanding the past may awaken the wrath of forgotten debts." Mama Zuri nodded knowingly, yet worry darkened her eyes. She must learn her lessons, yet I fear the cost may be greater than she imagines, she murmured. When the traveler attempted to speak with Amina later, she dismissed him with a polite but firm shake of her head. I appreciate your concern, elder, she said, but I must walk my own path. My dreams cannot wait for old tales or warnings. The city offers what the village cannot. The man's eyes, deep and steady, reflected both sorrow and patience. So be it, he whispered, as if addressing not just her, but the spirits that lingered in the air. But know that the roots of your family run deeper than you imagine. Ignore them, and the wind may return to teach its own lessons. In the city, Amina's trials began to mount. The friend she had trusted betrayed her in subtle ways, misusing her name and exploiting her trust for personal gain. She felt the sting of deceit for the first time, her pride bruised, her heart uneasy. Nights were restless, haunted by echoes of ancestral warnings, dreams of cracked homes, and the shadowy presence of the crow. Each disappointment seemed to whisper a truth she was reluctant to accept. Ambition alone does not shield the heart from error. Meanwhile, Mama Zuri's strength waned. The villagers observed her quiet struggle, some offering aid with whispered prayers, others standing at a distance, judgment etched into their expressions. The child has gone too far, murmured one, shaking her head. Ambition must honor the past, or it will destroy the present. Another added cautiously, she has forgotten the debt of love, and the village suffers for it. Mama Zuri, though weary, continued her work, her hands trembling as she prepared meals, guided children in their lessons, and tended to the sick. Her strength was a testament to love and duty, but her heart carried the ache of absence. The distance between mother and daughter grew heavier with each day. Amina's setbacks mirrored Mama Zuri's struggles, as if the threads of their lives were bound in tension. Each betrayal, each whispered doubt in the city, reflected the isolation and scrutiny her mother endured. Amina's heart ached with guilt she could barely name, yet her pride kept her from returning. Nights were the hardest, as dreams of ancestral voices and crows reminded her of what she had abandoned and what might be lost forever. Even in the village, signs of disapproval manifested subtly but unmistakably. The children she had once played with paused to watch her absence, elders exchanged knowing glances, and the women whispered of envy and fear. She thinks herself cleverer than all of us, one muttered. But no ambition can erase the duty owed to those who gave her life and wisdom. Another, older and wiser, added softly, perhaps she will learn. Perhaps not. But the spirits watch, and they speak through every shadow, every broken pot, every wind that stirs the leaves. Amina, unaware of the full weight of these judgments, continued her path in the city, feeling the exhilaration of independence but shadowed by unease. The crow remained a constant presence, perched on rooftops, appearing at street corners, a living omen of caution and ancestral guidance. She sensed that every step, every choice, carried a moral weight, and that her ambition would soon demand a reckoning she could neither escape nor ignore. By the time the sun sank below the city skyline, casting the streets in long, somber shadows, Amina understood in her heart that the city was not merely a place of opportunity, it was a crucible. Every betrayal, every minor misstep, every glimmer of deceit was a lesson in humility, a reminder that life's journey required balance between ambition and responsibility, freedom and familial duty. Far away, Mama Zuri rested under the baobab tree, feeling the tug of unseen threads connecting her to her daughter. The village, alive with whispers of envy, judgment, and cautious hope, continued to turn, a silent observer of both mistakes and the possibility of redemption. And so, the city and the village breathed in parallel, each reflecting the other's trials. Ambition clashing with integrity, absence weighed against duty, and the moral compass of tradition pressing upon the hearts of those who dared to stray from its guidance. The ancestral voices whispered still, the crow watched silently, and the wind carried the unspoken truth. Every choice has consequence, and the lessons of life are written not in ease, but in the trials that teach humility, patience, and respect. Amina's nights had become restless, filled with dreams she could neither shake nor explain. In one vision, the city streets twisted and narrowed, the neon lights bending into shapes of her childhood home, as if the city itself were calling her back. A soft whisper brushed against her ear, almost carried on the wind, the child who forgets her roots will learn the weight of her steps. She awoke gasping, clutching the small charm Mama Zuri had given her, a bead-woven necklace imbued with blessings and protective prayers. Its surface felt warmer than usual, as if alive with the ancestors' vigilance. The harsh realities of city life pressed in relentlessly. Opportunities she had chased now revealed themselves as traps cloaked in glitter. Kofi, the friend she had trusted, smiled with false concern as he suggested new ventures that seemed promising but left her drained and vulnerable. Documents were misplaced, money vanished, and every promise came with a hidden cost. Each setback was a reminder that ambition, untethered from wisdom and respect, was not free of consequence. Shadows from her dreams crept into reality, each misstep echoing the whispered warnings she had ignored. Far away, the village trembled with unease. Mama Zuri's strength faltered suddenly, her body bending under an invisible weight. When neighbors arrived with offerings of herbal remedies, they exchanged hushed words, their eyes wide with fear. "She has carried too much alone," one woman said softly. "The child's absence has shaken her spirit." Another added, "It is as the ancestors have whispered, abandonment cannot escape consequence." Mama Zuri, though pale and trembling, tried to offer a reassuring smile, but her voice was weak. "Do not weep for me, my children," she murmured. "Yet remember, life is guided by what we leave behind and the hearts we honor." The message reached Amina the next day in the form of a hurried letter, sealed with the village's customary red wax. Her hands shook as she tore it open, eyes scanning the words that confirmed her deepest fears. Her mother's illness was grave. A tear slid down her cheek, falling onto the paper, blurring the neatly written letters. "Mama," she whispered, voice breaking, "I have wronged you in ways I cannot undo." The weight of guilt pressed upon her chest, each heartbeat a drumbeat of ancestral justice, echoing the lessons she had ignored. In the city, the revelations did not end there. As Amina sorted through her belongings, a letter slipped from beneath a pile of bills. Its edges were frayed, ink faded by time, revealing a secret long buried, a pact her family had made years ago, a sacrifice to protect the village from ruin. Her father had passed quietly, leaving debts of honor and loyalty that Amina had unknowingly inherited. The realization struck her like a spear. Her ambitions, though innocent, had neglected these invisible bonds. The ancestors' whispers seemed louder now, guiding her understanding. Her ignorance had caused more than personal setbacks, it had rippled into her family's legacy. The final betrayal in the city revealed itself with brutal clarity. Kofi's duplicity became undeniable when she discovered the receipts, forged signatures, and promises broken with a casual cruelty that made her stomach churn. Her savings, her trust, even her most hopeful ventures had been exploited. A small trinket she had cherished, a necklace given to her by Mama Zuri, lay shattered on the apartment floor, the beads scattered like tiny stars fallen from the night sky. Each broken piece seemed to pulse with a lesson. Trust wisely, honor those who guided you, and recognize that ambition without discernment invites suffering. Amina collapsed into her chair, cradling the broken necklace, her thoughts a whirlwind of sorrow, regret, and growing clarity. The city, with all its dazzling lights, had taught her what the village could not be dismissed. Morality, family, and ancestral guidance were pillars that sustained the heart through trials. Her ambition had blinded her to what truly mattered, and now the consequences pressed down, unrelenting, demanding attention and reflection. Meanwhile, back in the village, Mama Zuri lay resting under the shade of the baobab, attended by caring neighbors and guided by prayers whispered into the wind. Each chant, each blessing carried a weight beyond simple ritual. They were a bridge to Amina, a conduit of wisdom, patience, and forgiveness. The villagers, some murmuring judgment, others offering silent support, embodied the collective conscience that African tales often illuminate, the moral tapestry of community, the consequences of neglect, and the hope for redemption. Amina's gaze fell to the scattered pieces of her necklace, and she realized that these tangible fragments mirrored the intangible fractures in her life. Tears flowed freely, yet amidst them, a seed of resolve grew. "I will return," she whispered, voice trembling but determined, "and I will make right what I have wronged. I will honor my mother, the village, and the ancestors who have guided me even when I turned away." The wind outside carried a faint murmur, as if approving her vow, rustling the scattered papers and brushing the broken beads like a gentle blessing. The city, once a siren of ambition and illusion, now became a crucible of learning. Each hardship, each betrayal, each symbolic dream and omen prepared her for the reckoning ahead, a confrontation with morality, family, and destiny that promised not only emotional growth but a restoration of harmony long threatened by youthful hubris. And so, Amina sat amid the chaos of the city apartment, the weight of her errors pressing heavily, yet with clarity dawning. She understood, at last, that the journey she had sought in lights and streets would only be fulfilled by returning to the roots she had abandoned. The crow perched nearby, silent but watchful, wings folded, a sentinel of ancestral justice. The whispers of the wind spoke again. The child who remembers, who learns, will be guided. The lessons of life are harsh, but they are also just. Across the distance, the village held its breath, waiting for the steps of a daughter returning not just to a home, but to a legacy of love, duty, and wisdom. Mama Zuri rested, surrounded by both care and judgment, embodying the moral compass that would, in time, guide Amina's path. The stage was set for reconciliation, understanding, and the dramatic lessons that only African tales, with their deep roots in ancestry and morality, can teach, that betrayal must be acknowledged, that humility must be earned, and that redemption, though hard won, remains always possible for those who listen to the voices of the past. Amina's feet pressed into the earth, each step sinking slightly into the familiar soil that had once been home but now felt distant, almost foreign. The forest canopy loomed overhead, thick and shadowed, sunlight struggling to pierce through the interlacing branches. A river, swollen from recent rains, gurgled alongside her path, its roar mirroring the turbulence within her heart. She clutched the remnants of her broken necklace, a tangible reminder of trust misplaced and lessons learned too late. Storm clouds gathered above, rumbling with a warning that seemed to echo the whispers of ancestors she had once ignored. A sudden gust of wind swept through the trees, carrying the cries of scattered birds, their flight chaotic and hurried. Amina paused, closing her eyes, and let the natural world speak to her sorrow, remorse, and growing resolve. She whispered into the wind, "Mother, forgive me. I did not know then what I know now." Her voice trembled, carried by the gusts across the forest. Somewhere deep in the shadows, a black crow landed silently, its eyes glinting as if acknowledging her vow. It had been a constant companion in her visions, a sentinel of morality and ancestral guidance, reminding her that the path of redemption is neither easy nor certain. Hours passed as she trudged onward, crossing rickety bridges and muddy trails, each step steeped in reflection. Memories of laughter and lessons from her mother surged into her mind, the smell of herbs, the taste of meals cooked with care, the way Mama Zuri's eyes gleamed with wisdom during story sessions beneath the baobab tree. Amina felt the weight of every moment she had dismissed in pursuit of ambition. "I was blind," she murmured, her voice choked with tears. "I thought freedom was in the city, but it was here, in the roots, in the love I abandoned." When she finally emerged at the edge of the village, the sight of mud-brick homes and thatched roofs brought a rush of conflicting emotions. The villagers had gathered, noticing her approach, their expressions a mixture of anticipation, anger, and cautious hope. Children stopped their games to watch, elders leaning on staffs, observing every movement, every gesture. Amina's heart pounded as she stepped forward, the voices of those she had left behind filling her mind with echoes of judgment and expectation. An elder spoke first, voice strong and deliberate, weaving the wisdom of generations into a single statement. "The river flows and the wind turns, but the child who leaves her home must return to honor the roots from which she sprang." Another added softly, "Ambition without care leaves a heart heavy, but the heart that returns, even with guilt, may find redemption." The villagers' eyes reflected a spectrum of emotion, condemnation, sorrow, and the faint glimmer of compassion. Amina bowed her head, absorbing the weight of their words, feeling the full measure of her choices pressing upon her soul. She approached Mama Zuri's hut, the elder at the door nodding silently, a gesture of encouragement and expectation. Mama Zuri lay resting under the familiar shade of the baobab, her face pale but serene, the village around her a quiet chorus of whispered prayers and cautious support. As Amina knelt beside her mother, tears streamed freely, soaking into her hands as they hovered over her mother's frail ones. "Mama," she whispered, "I have returned. I see now what I could not before. Please forgive me." Mama Zuri's eyes opened slowly, the soft light catching the wisdom and love that had never wavered despite abandonment. "Child," she said, voice gentle but firm, "the road to understanding is long, and the heart learns what the mind may not. You have walked through storms of your own making, and yet you have come back. That is the first step." Amina nodded, pressing her forehead to her mother's hand, feeling both humility and relief wash over her. As the wind rustled the trees and the village held its collective breath, visions of ancestors filled Amina's mind. She saw past sacrifices, her father laboring under the sun, her mother's hands tirelessly preparing food and remedies, elders keeping watch over the community. Their eyes were filled with silent lessons, urging her to absorb the depth of responsibility she had once overlooked. Symbols of guidance appeared in her visions: a broken pot mended with gold threads, representing the value of restoration, a white dove alighting on the baobab, signaling hope, the constant crow perched nearby, now calm, a witness to her journey toward understanding. Amina's thoughts turned to the villagers who had whispered judgments and prayers, realizing that each had played a role in shaping the moral fabric of her life. The young ones, who had once looked up to her as an example, now watched for lessons as she reconciled her ambition with duty. Elders, with their hands knotted with years of labor, offered silent approval. Even those who had doubted her courage now regarded her with measured respect, understanding that the path of redemption is walked with courage, humility, and acknowledgement of one's missteps. The sky above shifted from stormy gray to soft gold as the sun descended, casting long shadows across the village paths. Amina rose, brushing the dirt from her clothes, her shoulders lighter with purpose. She turned to Mama Zuri, voice firm yet tender. "Mother, I will honor the sacrifices you made. I will walk this life with care, blending the wisdom of our ancestors with the lessons I have learned. I will not stray again, and I will teach others the cost of forgetting where they come from." Mama Zuri smiled, eyes glistening with tears of pride. "The heart that learns and returns is stronger than the one that wanders blindly," she said. The villagers watched quietly, the tension gradually giving way to a collective sigh of relief. Children resumed their play, elders settled into their seats under the baobab, and the winds carried whispers of approval through the village. Amina, standing at the heart of her home, felt a sense of belonging she had never known in the city. The journey through forests, rivers, and storms had mirrored her inner turmoil, and now, having faced both guilt and understanding, she was ready to embrace the balance between ambition and duty. As night fell, lanterns lit the village paths, the soft glow illuminating faces filled with hope and cautious trust. Amina and Mama Zuri sat side by side beneath the baobab tree, hands entwined, the stories of past and present intertwining in a tapestry of love, moral growth, and ancestral guidance. The crow, perched quietly on a nearby branch, spread its wings as if to signify that the cycle of learning, forgiveness, and redemption continued, the moral threads of African tales woven firmly into the heart of the living village. Amina's knees sank into the soft earth of the village courtyard, her hands trembling as she reached toward Mama Zuri. Her eyes, glistening with unshed tears, searched her mother's face for signs of acceptance or even anger. "Mama, I was wrong," she whispered, voice breaking. "I left when I should have stayed. I chased dreams without understanding the cost, without seeing the love you poured into every day of my life." Mama Zuri, seated beneath the familiar shade of the baobab tree, studied her daughter quietly. Her face, lined with years of hardship and wisdom, softened as she observed Amina's humility. "Child," she said gently, "the heart that sees its error and returns is the heart that can be mended. Speak your truth, for it is through words and deeds that forgiveness begins." Amina bowed her head further, pressing her palms together, and offered a small bundle wrapped in brightly dyed cloth, a gift of kola nuts, herbs, and hand-woven fabric. "This is for you, Mama. A token of my respect, my apology, and my promise to learn from my mistakes," she said. The gesture, steeped in tradition, was more than a gift. It was a bridge connecting past neglect with present remorse. Mama Zuri extended a hand slowly, her fingers brushing over Amina's trembling ones. "The path to redemption is not in grand gestures alone," she murmured. "It is in the understanding of what was lost, the care for what remains, and the wisdom to carry both forward." The villagers, gathered at a respectful distance, watched quietly. The elders, voices low but resonant, spoke in proverbs that intertwined caution and hope. "The river that strays from its source may wander, but it can return to nourish the lands it abandoned," one said. Another added, "A tree that bends in the wind does not break, it grows stronger in the next storm." Amina felt the weight of these words settle into her soul. She rose slightly, kneeling once more to meet her mother's gaze. "Mama, I will honor our traditions and your sacrifices. I will pursue my ambitions, but never at the cost of family, respect, or the lessons you have taught me," she promised. Her voice, firm yet tender, carried both humility and resolve. Mama Zuri nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. "Then let our hands, joined in respect, be the first step toward healing. Let this day mark the return of balance, and the weaving of new paths with the threads of old wisdom," she said. Together, they performed a small cleansing ritual, pouring water over their joined hands, a symbolic act of renewal and reconciliation. The children of the village, previously watching in silent curiosity, now clapped softly, their joy tempered by the solemnity of the moment. Even the elders offered approving nods, their eyes reflecting relief and hope. Amina's gesture had not only mended her bond with her mother, but also restored a sense of harmony to the community, a living testament to the moral fabric of the village. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose, the elders gathered the villagers. They spoke softly, recounting the events as both caution and inspiration for the young. "Remember, children," one elder said, voice carrying over the courtyard, "ambition without heart leads to sorrow. But the child who returns with humility teaches us that even mistakes can be turned to wisdom." The symbolic imagery of the restored communal space, the baobab tree standing tall, lanterns flickering along the pathways, the gentle glow of evening reflecting in the river, signaled hope and continuity. Amina, standing beside Mama Zuri, felt a sense of renewal wash over her. She had returned to the heart of her home, carrying the lessons of her journey, the weight of remorse, and the determination to honor both ambition and tradition. Later, as she walked through the village paths, familiar yet transformed by time and her own growth, she noticed curious and hopeful glances from villagers. Their acceptance was tentative but real, acknowledging the sincerity of her return and the promise of balance between personal aspiration and communal responsibility. Amina approached her mother again, offering a simple meal she had prepared herself, her hands steady, her demeanor humble. "Mama, let us eat together," she said softly. "Let me serve you, as you served me with love and care all these years." Mama Zuri's eyes shone with pride and forgiveness. She placed her hand over Amina's, their palms touching in a silent pact of renewed trust and mutual respect. Together, mother and daughter shared the meal beneath the baobab, a small but profound ritual of reconciliation. The wind rustled through the leaves above, carrying whispers of ancestors who had watched over the family, guiding them toward understanding. Amina, for the first time in years, felt the harmony of tradition and ambition entwined within her, a living embodiment of the lessons she had fought to learn. The night fell gently, lanterns illuminating the village paths, and the community slowly returned to their homes, hearts touched by the story unfolding before them. Amina's journey home had not only healed her relationship with Mama Zuri, but had also reaffirmed the moral and spiritual threads that bound the village together. In the quiet moments beneath the starlit sky, mother and daughter sat in companionable silence, the weight of past mistakes lifted by forgiveness, and the promise of a future guided by wisdom and love firmly in place. Amina sat beside her mother beneath the familiar baobab tree, the evening breeze carrying the scents of earth, herbs, and cooking fires from nearby homes. Her eyes, heavy with the weight of remorse, met Mama Zuri's calm and patient gaze. "Mama," she began, voice quivering, "I see now how much I failed you. I chased my own dreams and ignored the roots that gave me life." Mama Zuri reached out, brushing a loose strand of hair from Amina's face. "Child, the heart that recognizes its mistakes is the one that can mend them," she said softly. "I have carried the burden of your absence with love, knowing that the path you chose was yours alone, yet I prayed for your return." Tears fell freely as Amina embraced her mother, their hands entwined in a gesture of reconciliation. Memories of laughter, shared meals, and lessons learned beneath the same tree washed over them. "I will never again forget the sacrifices you made," Amina whispered. "Your guidance, your stories, your wisdom, they are part of me, and I will carry them forward." Nearby, the villagers gathered slowly, curiosity tempered by respect. Whispers passed from lips to ears, carrying a mixture of admiration and caution. The elders stepped forward, their eyes reflecting the depth of their collective knowledge. "The child who returns with humility strengthens the village," one said. Another added, "A heart that seeks forgiveness nourishes the roots from which it grew." Amina stood, turning to face the community. "I have learned that ambition without understanding can harm not only oneself but those we love," she said. "I am here to make amends, to honor both my mother and the traditions that shaped me." Approval and gentle nods rippled through the crowd. The villagers approached in measured steps, offering words of encouragement, small gifts, and guidance. Amina's gestures of humility, a bow here, a hand extended there, signaled her sincerity. Through these exchanges, she felt the weight of judgment lighten, replaced by the quiet warmth of shared acceptance. Mama Zuri guided her daughter through the preparation of herbal remedies, explaining their origins and significance. "Each leaf, each root," she said, "carries the wisdom of our ancestors. To know them is to honor the lives that came before us. Amina listened intently, absorbing not just the practical knowledge but the spiritual and moral lessons woven within. The evening shifted toward celebration. Lanterns were lit, casting a warm glow over the courtyard. Drums echoed in rhythm with the heartbeat of the village, and voices lifted in song. Children danced around the baobab, mimicking the elders' movements, while storytellers recounted tales of resilience, wisdom, and the triumph of humility over pride. Amina joined in, her laughter mingling with the music, yet tempered by reflection. She shared stories of her experiences in the city, illustrating both the excitement and the dangers of ambition without guidance. The villagers listened with rapt attention, nodding in recognition, seeing both caution and hope in her words. Later, as the celebration waned and the moon rose high, Mama Zuri led Amina in a small rite of remembrance. They poured water over their hands, a symbolic act of cleansing and renewal. "Let this water carry away the past mistakes and nourish the promise of tomorrow," Mama Zuri intoned. Amina repeated the gesture, feeling a profound connection to her heritage and the ancestors whose guidance had led her home. The night deepened, yet the warmth of reconciliation lingered. Amina walked through the village paths, familiar yet imbued with new meaning. She observed neighbors' faces, reflecting a mixture of curiosity, relief, and cautious admiration. Every smile, every nod, affirmed that she had not only reconciled with her mother but had also begun to restore her place within the community. As she returned to her family home, Amina's mind embraced both reflection and vision. "I will honor our traditions," she vowed silently, "while pursuing the dreams that ignite my spirit. My path forward will carry both the wisdom of my roots and the fire of my ambitions." In the glow of morning, the village awakened to a new harmony. Children played along familiar pathways, merchants arranged their colorful wares, and elders imparted wisdom in gentle tones. Amina joined in, working alongside her mother and the villagers, her presence a living testament to redemption, understanding, and the balance between modern aspirations and ancestral guidance. The elders gathered one final time beneath the baobab, their voices soft but commanding. "Let this day be remembered," one said, "for it teaches that the strength of a community lies not only in its roots but in the humility of its children. And the child who returns with a heart open to learning restores the harmony of all." Amina smiled, feeling the full weight of her journey. She had walked the path of mistakes, endured the trials of ambition, and returned to embrace the wisdom of her mother and ancestors. The drums, the songs, and the stories carried her forward, a reminder that life's lessons are often harsh, yet through forgiveness, understanding, and courage, balance and harmony could always be restored. As the sun rose, casting golden light over the village, Amina stood beside Mama Zuri, ready to blend her dreams with the traditions that had nurtured her. She was no longer a child chasing ambition blindly. She was a young woman shaped by experience, guided by wisdom, and embraced by her family and community. The village hummed with life, a living tapestry of lessons learned, bonds mended, and hope renewed.